guys awake? Are you awake? Okay. Are you hungry? Yes. There is one way, and only one way that I know, to get you to forget about your hunger. And that is to talk about sex. Are you still hungry? No, I knew you'd forget about it. Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly. In a different way, he said. My name is Liz Nead. I am Indian from India. I am also from Minnesota. So, thank you. So I have a party trick for you, okay? Everyone close their eyes and imagine a blonde, blue-eyed girl talking to you. You can hear her, right? Okay, now, magically, I'm going to change it to this person, okay? We're going to talk like this now. I am Liz Nead. I'm from Minnesota. All right, so now, just to prove to you, you cannot learn how to do that unless you're Indian by way of Minnesota. So I'm going to talk first. Before we get to the sex part, I have to talk about my grandfather. I know it seems kind of weird, but we have to go this direction. So this is a picture of my family. And my dad moved to the United States in the late 60s. And so this is the state of affairs that my father grew up in. If you look, it's open air. That's a coconut thatched roof. I decided to do this like toga-like thing in honor of the lady up there. See that lady up there in the corner? Like, look at it. Nothing's changed since the 40s. And because I'm an Indian from Minnesota, I've always been curious about my heritage. My grandfather died when I was 10 years old. He died actually on my birthday. And so because of that, I felt this connection to him. I always felt like there was something important that I was meant to do. And so I kept looking for it, and I knew that I was going to do something amazing, but I wasn't sure what it was going to be. And I learned at his funeral that 1,000 people came from all over to walk past his body and pay their respects. At a time when there was no social media, there were probably people without phones. There certainly weren't any cell phones. So how do you get 1,000 people to decide that they want to take time out of their life to walk past your body and remember how this person touched you? And this is the lesson that I want to give you. And there will be sex involved, I promise. So anyway, I found this picture, and I was excited. I wanted to know a little bit more, and this was, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I sat between my uncle and my dad, and I said, I want you to tell me who all these people are. So there's this little guy in the middle, and that's my dad when he was 5 years old. 1945 is when the picture was taken. I said, Dad, why are you so sad? He looks so bummed. And he said, well, if you look closely, you can see there I'm sitting in front of a body. It's a funeral. Yeah, that's my great-grandmother. And he said, so, I'm sitting in front of a dead body. That's not very fun for a 5-year-old, and I probably wasn't wearing any pants. So that's why he was sad. And there's a guy on the far left, and that's my grandfather. Check out that guy. So the first discovery I figured out is that people in my family could have abs. We all think that we're apples. We're not apples. Look at him. He had like a flat stomach. It's America that made us apples. It's totally not right. So this guy, he is kind of a legend in my Indian community because he was absolutely passionate and determined and, most importantly, unafraid to talk about what was important to him. So here's the story. He would walk. He was a principal at a school, but twice a week he would walk to the nearest village. It was 15 miles. And he didn't have Nikes. He had like Jesus sandals, kind of. And it wasn't paved. There wasn't a lot of good infrastructure. And he walked about 15 miles, and he went to the nearest village, and he stood on a rock. And there was no one around. He stood on this one corner, and he would yell at the top of his lungs about Jesus Christ. And he kept it up and kept it up until somebody would stop and listen, hopefully. And then eventually they would want to know more, and they would want to believe what he believed. And so then he would walk them back to his home, the 15 miles, and where there would be a meal that my grandmother had prepared. Usually, this is the legend, just enough food for whoever it was that he brought back. So there was something really divine about the whole thing. And I always thought that was really amazing, because how many people here are passionate enough to walk 15 miles for anything that they're talking about? How many people believe in what they are talking about so much that they would stand on a rock in a public place and yell at the top of their lungs, hoping that at least one person would hear what they have to say. And how many people would convince that person to walk back with them 15 miles to their home where they're going to give food, and they weren't rich people, and invite them into their home and sit down and have a meal and really get to know them? How many people would actually do that with their message? It's a powerful thing. So when I heard that story and I saw this picture, I just knew that there was something there. So I kept searching. And I worked in insurance for 15 years. So I was a passionate person. I was always trying to inspire people. I would get in trouble for it. So I had one part of it down, that I was passionate. I had something I wanted to say. I wanted to say, you are important, and I'm here, and I see you, and I hear you. And that was something, but it wasn't quite enough. And then I got laid off. And so I decided, I didn't tell anyone, but I decided not to look for another insurance job. And I started a speaking career, and I got a television show, and I got a radio show. Okay, so now I'm yelling, right? Now I'm standing on a rock and I'm yelling. Anybody who wants to hear me, you're important, you mean something to me, I want to help you somehow. I know you feel good when I talk to you, but there was something missing. What I needed to do was invite them into my life, which brings me to the second part of this presentation. It's about sex. So here's what happened. I've been married for 14 years. There's my husband. He's a retired military guy, and he's horny. Okay? He really is. I talk really fast all the time because if there's a pause in the conversation, you know what he's going to do? He's going to knock on the door of, can I have some? So I was on a date. We were at Texas Roadhouse. It's the closest place, okay? We were just at that place. Just don't even talk to me about that. There's much nicer places. And we were talking, and he was giving me the look. I just knew. I knew he wasn't listening to anything I was saying. He was just eating steak and watching me like I was a steak. And I knew it, you know, because when you've been married for a while, you know what he's looking at me like that for. And I was thinking, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, we're talking, we're connecting, it's our weekly date. And then he had this move. He reached across me to dip his calamari in the Thousand Island dressing, and he brushed my boobs. And then as he pulled his arm back, he gave me a look. And you know what I thought? I thought, didn't we just do it on Wednesday? It's like 5 days ago. You've got to be kidding me. And then I started that internal dialogue that most people who are on Twitter have, this like weird voice in your head saying, what is wrong with you? You have this person who's in love with you, who's like trying to find ways to brush your boob in public and act proud of it. I mean, my gosh, you should be thankful for this. So you need to do something, lady. You expect so much out of every part of your life, but this one area, you are failing. I mean, really, did we do it on Wednesday? That's what I was saying to myself. So I did what anybody who's like a social media ADHD person does, and the thought came here and here in a split second. I looked at him and I said, why don't we sleep together for 30 days? And he looked at me and he said, you do. You sleep with me all the time. What's the difference? And I went, you know what I mean. We're in Texas Roadhouse in Iowa. Shh. And then he said, you're going to write about it, aren't you? I was like, well, I might write about it, okay. But I'm like, I'm serious here. So, all right, so you don't want to have sex with me for 30 days because I'm going to write about it? That's fine, all right. I mean, I responded. And very quickly he said, can today be a warm-up? Oh, yeah. Let's give my husband a round of applause. I mean, that's real commitment, I think. Trying to get 31 days out of me, which I did oblige. I said, let's do a warm-up. This will be funny. All right, good, good. Thinking about the writing. You know, I'm always thinking about the writing. So we did. We did it every day. It, meaning sex, okay? We had sex every day for 30 days. My idea was I have a solution. Somehow this is going to stop. I'm going to be able to satiate this beast. I'm going to be able to quiet this constant need. That was my idea. He said he wanted sex. Let me give him sex. I mean, I'm a smart person. I'm going to give him a solution. And so what I learned is that I don't know everything I need to know, and that life is about experimenting, not solving. Solving comes like at the very end of a long journey. Here's what I learned. On day 14, I'm going to go over by 2 minutes. Do you mind?
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes, okay? So what I learned is on day 14, okay, poetic, 14 years of marriage, and on day 14, I broke Major Nead. He said, and I quote, "I am not a machine. I need to be warmed up." What? Okay. And then he started like trying to go to bed early, like just to like screw the plan over. I mean, we completely switched roles. I was pursuing him. Every time there was a pause in the conversation, I started to wake him up in the morning and schedule the sex because I wanted to make sure it happened. I would interrupt him when he was telling me about his day to say, "Now, after this, we should probably have sex, don't you think?" And he would like ignore me or pretend he was so tired and he couldn't handle it. So I learned something. I learned that men and women are no different. It's all about playing the roles. And if I take time and I prioritize sex, then it's going to happen. And if I want him, I'm going to want him. And if I pursue him all the time, then he's going to do the other role, right? And so it changed our life. And so I finally got my last little thing that I needed from my grandfather. And that was the thing, the passion, the purpose, the reason that I would walk 15 miles. The thing that I needed, which is to open, you're in my life right now, okay? I mean, really, you're in my life. You know me intimately now. You've been in the bedroom with me, for goodness sakes. And so that's my version of my grandfather walking someone 15 miles and inviting them into their home, because there's an authenticity and intimacy that comes with connecting with you. And I found my purpose, which is to encourage you to experiment with anything. Try anything for 30 days. I'm on my 15th 30-day dare. I tried 5 minutes of silence every day, which was so much harder than having sex every day. I'm just telling you. My gosh. I tried not gossiping. Couldn't talk about anyone. That was also very difficult. I am a gossip. Don't tell me anything you don't want me to spread, because I'm not on the dare anymore. And so I created Life Dare, a thing for Life Dare, 30-day dares for you. So you can try the 30-day sex dare. You can try anything else that you want. There's a whole bunch of ideas out there. I do want to say thank you to Jeff and Deb, because they were the ones that connected the dots between my grandfather and the sex, actually. So it's them that you should give a round of applause. And I also want to say thank you to my husband for allowing me to expose him, literally, in this way. And if you want to talk about the dares more, please come up and talk to me, because I am passionate about it. And I want you to come home with me and we'll talk about it. Thank you, guys.
Wow.